Don't we all know exactly where we were when we heard for the first time?
The information was that Diana had survived at that point.
It was just a devastating moment, and I think universal.
I thought how horrible and yet typical. Here was a survivor. Diana wasn't dead.
I said, oh, of course not. It's not true. You know, they're always putting up stories about Princess Diana.
I called Kensington Palace, and it was 3 a.m. in the morning there, but I knew somebody would answer, and sure enough, somebody did answer, and they told me that the princess was doing very, very poorly.
I immediately called her on her mobile phone. There was no answer.
And by morning, with more calls in the middle of the night, we had heard the news and just stunned, can't believe it.
It was just like, you know, oh my God, no.
And we turned on the TV and of course it was all over the news. It was just unbelievable.
I just couldn't believe what they were saying to me.
Not Diana. She was just, you know, coming out of all of these problems, becoming her own person. This couldn't possibly be true.
It's so hard to believe if you're my age that somebody her age could be the one to die.
The rest of the day was just some sort of daze. I'm quite glad I had to work that day. So I think I might have spent the rest of the day in tears.
I don't know how we, as a people, will ever be able to reconcile her death and ever be able to come to terms with the death of one of the most profound and beautiful people the world will ever know. I still can't believe it.
Sorry.
The funeral of Diana, Princess of Wales, on September the 6th, 1997, was a huge and regal occasion. Millions lined the route, cities came to a standstill, and television stations the world over cleared their schedules to carry pictures of the young princes following the coffin on which lay the wreath of white rosebuds, bearing its heartbreakingly simple message: Mummy. A 100 million people, astonished at the depth of their own reaction, mourned a young woman who'd been in the public eye for only 16 years, but who had won the respect of statesmen in the hearts of the world. Diana Spencer, who was born on the 1st of July 1961, was the third child of Earl Spencer and the Honourable Francis Burke Roach. Both families had been courtiers, well, administrators actually, to the royal family for generations. They were aristocrats and were said by many to regard themselves as more royal than the royals, partly because their English ancestry stretched back further than the royal families. The Spencers had made fabulous amounts of money out of owning sheep, and there's a story hard to verify that when the first Earl Spencer got married in the 18th century, he was wearing $1 million buckles on his shoes. Like almost all aristocrats in the United Kingdom, Viscount Althorp sent his young children away to boarding school.
Diana's father told me that the best thing for Diana to do was to go to Riddlesworth School, which was a very home-based prep school and very suitable for someone in Diana's situation. She also had friends there. Diana's father said that she, perhaps out of all the children, had been the most disturbed at the breakup of their marriage. She was at the most susceptible age, really.
The house that Diana lived in with her father and her sisters Jane and Sarah and younger brother Charles was Park House on the Queen's estate at Sandringham in Norfolk. Diana's grandparents, who were also courtiers, had rented the house from King George V.
Park House was a comfortable, cosy home. Diana's father said that he was looking to make a warm, happy atmosphere for the children to come home to. And he was hoping that I would stay really until Charles, her young brother, went off to prep school, which would give some sense of continuity, because I found out that there had been quite a number of changes of help within the house. And to a degree, I think Diana and Charles used to club together and decide they didn't like a specific person, not for any major reason, except that she wasn't their mother. One or two of the tricks that Diana got up to, for example, she would lock the nannies in the toilet and throw away the key. She would go into their rooms, which she wasn't really meant to do, and get their clothes and throw up on the roof so that the man who worked there, he had to clamber up and get them down. Nothing really major, but anyway, for whatever reason, no one stayed very long.
Norfolk, where Diana grew up, is rich farming country, flat and often windswept. It was the landscape she loved.
We did lead a very country existence. She was happiest just in trousers and an old top. She wasn't in the least bit interested in clothes. She absolutely hated dressing up. On the few occasions I had struggled to get her into a dress or a skirt, she would only go put these clothes on. Do I really have to do this? And I don't see what it matters what I'm wearing. No one's going to look at me, and as long as I'm there, what does it matter?
She was just one of the others with a tatty pullover and long skirt. I mean, they were all terribly untidy at school, and she was no exception.
Diana was very much like any other child. She knew the ways of boarding schools, particularly as quite a number of her friends came.
It gives me great pleasure to open the hall and to wish Miss Rudge every happiness in her retirement. My years at Westheath were certainly very happy ones indeed. I made many friends who I often see, and in spite of what Miss Rudge and my other teachers may have thought at the time, I did actually learn something. Though you would never have known by my O-level results.
She was often slightly in the background with a smile on her face as though she was just going to be very naughty, which she usually was.
She was always bringing back food illegally to eat when they're not supposed to take it. Bring it back, and they have midnight feasts in bedrooms.
Perhaps now, when future generations are handed out punishments for talking after lights, pillow fights and illegal food, they will be told to run 6 times round this hall.
She was one of the regular squad who weeded the gardens with me on Saturdays as a punishment.
It has to be preferable to the lacrosse pitch or weeding the garden, which I became a great expert at.
I think they preferred weeding the garden to running around the cross pitch. That generally happened before breakfast and was colder and more active, and she was involved in that too.
Diana's main love was to be outside with her animals. She had a guinea pig that she was extremely proud of, called Peanuts. She used to nurture a tremendous amount of love and care on this guinea pig. Peanuts went to school with Diana, came home from school with Diana, was entered in the flower show which we held annually, and won prizes for Diana. And Diana would be out playing with these animals or helping Mr. Smith, who used to work outside in the gardens, or trying to help Mrs. Smith, who used to work in the house. Diana always loved to be doing things. She really didn't mind what she was asked to do as long as it was practical and she felt she was helping.
The Leggett Cup is awarded every term for helpfulness.
Diana was lucky enough to be at a school where the abilities that she had were recognised. Helpfulness was considered a prize-winning quality.
Pets Corner, wherever.
She loved being domestic and just helping out and doing things like that. The domestic staff always loved having her around, whereas they hated having some other people around.
Helpfulness is rewarded by this cup.
The tiny cup
and
she
this
won
term
for her
is awarded to
skills
Clemmy Brown
is still
for her
awarded
work
today.
around the school. Well done, Clemmy.
Diana was always asking if I needed any help about the house, and she was much better at cleaning than I ever was. She was only 9, this little girl with her mousy, shoulder-length brown hair. Did save me from quite a few problems with her father by going around checking on my dusting, etc. Naturally, I talked about what she enjoyed doing most and her favourite subject. Her favourite subject was basically swimming or anything outside.
She was a very good swimmer. She spent a lot of her time practising, both at school and at home. But she was even better at diving.
One of the things that stand out most in my mind was of the young Diana standing on top of the water slide, shouting, "Look at me, look at me." And only when she had everyone watching her would she then execute this most fantastic dive into the pool.
She truly could go into the water without making a splash in an absolutely straight line. She was very, very good, and she loved it.
Diana loved to be the centre of attention. If she was confident and knew all the people around her, then she was extremely extrovert. She was only shy when she didn't know the people around her.
She had that element of shyness which we never broke through. She had a really lovely singing voice. We'd heard her when she didn't know we were listening, but we couldn't get her into the choir. She was too shy to take the audition.
Dancing, of course, was her real forte, and she was very gifted, or rather, as far as a tall, long-legged person can be gifted, but she was very graceful and a joy to watch. And she spent a lot of time just practicing by herself. She'd get up early and just go and practice.
We did lots of ballet music because that was another interest of hers. The main piece that I remember was a piano duet by Dvorak, which is the Slavonic dance in G minor, which is pretty difficult. And she was determined to learn it, and she did. And she played it with great brilliance, wrong notes everywhere, lots and lots of laughter, but really a musical performance.
Like most teenagers, Diana got bored with quiet country life. Unlike most, her father bought her a flat in London. She shared it with 2 friends and took her place amongst the young aristocrats who lived in and around Sloane Square. And she became what social commentators like Peter York and Ann Barr dubbed Sloane Rangers, upper-class youngsters who all knew each other. The girls wore a sort of uniform of pleated skirts, pearls and frilly blouses. And they all had a habit of playing practical jokes on one another, daft habits, I thought, most of them, throwing bread rolls at parties and generally behaving rather stupidly. They were just, of course, filling in time, really.
Upper-class people in England have a sort of service tradition, what sometimes called noblesse oblige. They also have a tradition of doing absolutely mad jobs, like silly jobs, non-jobs. Nobody thought that Diana would get a PhD or an MBA or run an international corporation. That wasn't the idea. The idea was be in London, meet people, have a good time, do something useful, and then get married to somebody she knew.
Diana was a nanny from heaven. She was openly affectionate with Patrick, genuinely warm. She'd scoop him up every morning when she came into work. She would stand with him on her hip, talking to me in my bedroom as I finished getting dressed. At the end of the day, he was clearly just as happy as he could be. You know, it was very clear to me as a mother that he'd had a wonderful 8 hours with her. You know, I knew this was the right nanny for my son.
Can I ask you, was your own childhood particularly a good one?
Oh, yes.
It was. Did that prompt you into wanting to do it?
Not particularly. Just love children.
She was the most helpful, sweet, accommodating youngster. She would wash up the breakfast dishes or run a load of laundry without my even asking her, make up the beds, tidy up the toys and so on. And one of the sweetest things she did was she had a car in London. I didn't, so she would pick up stuff that she